Since Tormenta raised the trophy in November, 2 more clubs have joined the League One party, and they so happen to be neighbors, just 175 miles apart. Lexington Sporting Club and One Knoxville Soccer Club, clashing in their first ever League One match, beckoning the first chapter in a new rivalry. And you couldn't line it up better than this for these two sides, starting with each other in their inaugural USL League One soccer game. Welcome one and all to this broadcast presented by KUB Fire. It's One Knoxville and Lexington here at the Regal Soccer Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome one and all to the broadcast. My name is Mark Schoenster. We appreciate you tuning in on ESPN Plus as we give you some catching up on what these two teams have to pose, brand new clubs. And they say defense wins championships, and that's the motto that Knoxville's going with. Jordan Skelton, great clearance player. He'll be anchoring in that center back. Would be nice to pair him with another great center back star from previous USL League One seasons. He's been so good. And oh, look, it's Jalen Chrysler, second in League One last year in the clearance category. These guys are unfair pairing together. Let's see what they do in this game and throughout the season. They're going to be enforcers. They're going to make sure that center of the pitch does not have any danger in it. Meanwhile, for Lexington, a center back of their own, Kalen Fox, coming back home to Lexington to be one of the 2 center backs on this team. He was their first ever signing. He's been everything they've hoped for in training. Now, can he translate it to the pitch this season when the games matter? He's been so good with Tucson in years past, and I expect he'll be just as fantastic this season. And here is what these two sides are battling for outside of course, points. At the end of the season, their 3-game series, the winner has to win a barrel and a bottle of the respective clubs' distilled drink, bourbon, whiskey, depends on which firm, or which team, excuse me, comes out with more points in the series. So whether you are a whiskey fan, a Kentucky bourbon enjoyer, there's a lot of ways to argue over which one is better. How about we do it for 90 minutes on the soccer pitch? Coming up after this break, it's One Knoxville and Lexington for the first time in USL League One. We'll see you then.
For over 75 years, we've witnessed moments that will last forever. Records and trophies, firsts and onlys, game-changing innovations. From the heroes we admire to the joy of watching them play. Our history defines us, inspires us, and pushes us into the future. Celebrating 75 years of changing the game. Puma. Forever faster.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University. Your partner in finishing goals.
Session coming up between One Knoxville and Lexington Sporting Club, presented by KUB Fiber. A game so good, so much anticipation, we decided to wait even a little bit longer to get this one started between these two sides. My name is Mark Schoenster as we pivot over to the starting lineups for these two. Their first ever starting lineups in USL League One history, brought to you by UT Medical Center. First, for the home side, you see here a 4-4-1-1 with Jake Keegan, a veteran goal scorer in USL League One up top. But look at that back line from Waldeck, Chrysler, Skeleton, Sean O'Hearn. All of them have USL League One experience. This side rife with talent, rife with potential. Meanwhile, the visiting side, Lexington, running a 4-4-2. 3 of their 4 members of the back line have USL League One experience. Frankie Martinez, the only one, and he, 27 years old, he's got a lot of professional experience under his belt. Meanwhile, you may recognize the names Don Smart and Charlie Machel, both also of former League One teams, both last year and years prior. We wait to get this one going. Our head official, Sergei Damianchuk, from Regal Soccer Stadium. Welcome to USL League One, Lexington and Knoxville, as we get this one going. A wonderful view and a wonderful attendance, as you can see at the bottom of your screen here at Regal Soccer Stadium. Also home to the Lady Vols of Tennessee. A fantastic facility, great stands, a great pitch, and should make for some great soccer here for 90 minutes. As Lexington knocked this one out of play. Talking about the build-up to this game, we got to chat with the two coaches, Mark McKeever for One Knoxville and Sam Stockley for Lexington. And they both had a couple words to say about the anticipation as Don Smart gives it over to Machel. They'll go back and forth here. But for the home side coach, Mark McKeever, he said the anticipation not much different from last year when they had their first ever game. They played in USL League Two last season. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at halftime as far as getting to this point. But as far as anticipation is concerned, he said we've already had that quote-unquote first ever game in history. Now it's just the first game in League One history. And he said the thing I've been telling my guys is to not force everything in that first game because, well, we have 32 of them. And this game is just as important as all the other ones. He said, but we have been turning up the heat in training and build up to this match. Meanwhile, Sam Stockley very similarly said that it's not about getting ready for one game, it's about getting ready more and more as the season goes on. Big growth mindset in Lexington. They've got a lot of bullet points and plans laid ahead for the next few years. Of course, Knoxville similarly. As this long ball gets lofted over to the left-hand side for Derek Waldeck. Here's O'Hearn returning the favor. A couple of tight passes via Lobos. Sends this cross inside. It's bobbled down, then gets cleared away. Frankie Martinez applying the clearance. And our first real chance of the evening for either side. Brisk day in Knoxville, 45 degrees, and given the fact that it's only going to get darker and darker from here, that temperature isn't going to get any warmer, I'll tell you that. There's Mark McKeever, the back of the gaffer for this home side. Was the coach for the team last year, and it was announced that he was returning in his role after they made the move up. You really see both these teams try to feel each other out here. It's not even just the first game of the season, it's their first ever game in USL League One, and it's their first game against each other, so they don't even have any sort of tape to work with outside of maybe some USL League Two stuff for Knoxville last season. Needless to say, two unknown identities outside of some familiar faces. And that's one of them right there, Angelo Kelly, although not familiar in the USL League One landscape, very familiar face in USL Championship. This one will get played back by Callum Johnson before Lexington reclaims possession and will now try to push it forward. And on the steal, here comes Knoxville. Coming down that right-hand side is Keegan. Jake Keegan. End up playing it back. And now here's the cross swinging in. And that one headed away by Owen Green, former Tormenta man. That was Jalen James for Lexington that got his pocket picked, causing that transition breakaway opportunity for Knoxville. I mentioned the potential rivalry aspect to this game to both coaches, and for Sam Stockley, he said that excited to play this game is an understatement. We expect a friendly rivalry, and for us, it'll be about managing the occasion, especially on the road. They knew that there was going to be an energetic crowd here today, and they have come in throws. And he said, we will go at it as hard as we can. That one gets tapped out of play for a Lexington throw. Meanwhile, Mark McKeever said that it's a great story and could be the start of a great rivalry. He mentions that's Sam Stockley, not only the head coach, but also the sporting director for Lexington. So a man wearing two hats, and he's also worn previous hats in the past. He used to broadcast USL games. This is a versatile person. And as I was saying about what McKeever was mentioning about the rivalry, he said especially with the alcohol ties between the two clubs and states, he said that before the schedule was released, they were who we wanted, so we're immensely excited for this to be the first game of the season. And all just lined up perfectly. And you know the moment that USL League One saw the ability to put these two teams together in that opening game, it's an obvious choice, right? And they'll play each other 2 more times this year on top of this matchup. James Thomas tried to keep it in play, but it gets knocked out by Martinez. Actually, that was Tariq Muhammad. Quickly put this one back into play. And not on the same page there, and now will roll out for a goal kick. Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL League One and many elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit www.selectsportamerica.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. That's a male Knight, 29-year-old goalkeeper, starting between the pipes in Lexington's first ever game. He's got a lot of experience, including some League One experience from years prior. That ball flicked around a couple of times, and we'll get a whistle. I believe that's our first foul of the game. Khalid Balagoon, the one drawing the foul for Lexington. Robertson to Balagoon. Gives it back to Robertson, but it was just behind him. He had a good pocket of space there right at the top of the 18. And then Knox will give it right back. We may see that quite a bit today as both these teams are not only trying to understand what the other's doing, but also just understand what their teammates are doing. We've only had but so many friendlies and scrimmages to figure it out, and it doesn't take just a few games to understand your fellow teammates' mannerisms, as this one will go in favor of Knoxville. Clearance from Jordan Skelton, one of, I'm sure, many this season. And he's the one wearing the captain's armband to start things off. And we're talking about an unfair duo, Skelton and Chrysler pairing up. As Knoxville tears forward. Johnson plays it to the top, and Don Smart is there. Knox will recover it though. Johnson plays it out wide for Thomas. Here the crowd getting into this one. The roars as Knoxville push it forward. Regal Stadium, a capacity of 3,500. Skelton escorts this one and plays it back to his keeper, Sean Lewis. First mention of him. Has a lot of USL Championship experience and looks to be picking daisies back there with the experience he has on that back line. There's 4 fantastic defensive players for this Knoxville side. This is the first time Knoxville's been able to play on this ground, even though it is the home pitch. Chrysler trying to lead on his man, running down that right wing. Mohammed trying to do the exact same thing, but Angelo Kelly sniffs the danger and gets to it. Talked to Mark McKeever, though, about this pitch, and he said, we haven't been able to practice on the ground yet, but it's a great surface, and we've scouted it out, and he went so far as to say that it may be the best surface in the league, right up there with Richmond in North Carolina at City Stadium and Wake Med Soccer Park, respectively. And I mean, obviously, if you're watching from home, you can't feel the grass yourself, but boy, does it pass the eye test. O'Hearn puts this one forward. Good exchange. Kelly gets it stabbed away. That was Kalen Fox, the Lexington man. Coming back and after playing with Tucson last season. Both him and Charlie Machel in the starting lineup. Both played for John Perlman's side last year. So Sam Stockley, the man in charge of this Lexington team, not only tactically and player management-wise, but also in the front office as the sporting director. And we talked to him a bit about the style of this team as they push it forward here. Machel was going forward, but the whistle's going to be blown because we have a player down. So that's Jessen Vanderplum as we get a look at what brought him down. He just got leveled there by Khalid Balogun. Feel all the force of that 6'4" forward crashing into you. And he's back up on his feet. Maybe just a little rattled. Got those first game butterflies on top of the fact that Balogun's coming in and levies the hammer with all the force of a striker. Let's take a look at our injury report brought to you by University Orthopedic Surgeons. Ain't that some good news right there? Nothing reported for either side, and that's just the way you like it. I hope that that's what we see from these two teams for the rest of the season. You always hate to see a team's season get bogged down by injuries. They're inevitable. Soccer season is a long, arduous, long stretch of months, and players are going to pick up bruises, but you just hope nothing ever too serious occurs. Talking to Sam Stockley about the style of Lexington SC, he said that we had 10 to 14 listening meetings that I sat in on with the people of Lexington, and that went from people in the creative arts, the business world, the media, the fans themselves, etc. And one of the big things that he pulled away from those conversations is that we needed an exciting brand of football. Mentioned how the people of Lexington are used to the horse races. They're used to Kentucky basketball, and we want to be the next name in that line of reasoning in sports. So he mentioned that our game model is very much based off of the community. Meanwhile, on the Knoxville side of things, Mark McKeever mentioned that his team has 5 main values that they hang their hats on, and 2 of them were commitment and excitement. He wants his guys to cover ground, help out your teammates, be there even if it's not necessarily your assignment to be there if your name is called. And then he also brought the fact that a lot of League One is very methodical and patient. I know a couple of teams come to mind when I say those words. If you're a League One fan that's watching this game as a third-party observer. And Coach McKeever said that we want to change that landscape with something a little bit more energetic. And we've already seen some spurts here, and I'm sure as the season goes on, that energetic style that both these sides, quite frankly, are looking for will continue to develop and step more and more in the forefront. This is James Thomas winding around. Into the 18 he goes. Thomas tripped up, and there's a point to the spot. A penalty has been awarded to 1 Knoxville. With a couple of weaving moves, light on his feet, James Thomas dances around 2 defenders and ends up getting taken off his boots just inside the penalty area.
The referee has indicated a penalty kick to 1 Knoxville.
So now, what could be the first League One goal in Knoxville history? Who is going to go up and take it? Here's a look. And I'm getting it back up. Looks like he was a little slow. And it's going to be Sean O'Hearn from Mountville, Pennsylvania, giving it away to Jimmy Villalobos. That one makes a little bit more sense. A midfielder with League One experience. Had a couple goals last year from Oasis, California. Villalobos looking to ride himself into 1 Knoxville lore. And he's up against a male knight. Villalobos gets the go-ahead. And Villalobos scores. 1 Knoxville up, 1-0. And that is your first ever League One goal for 1 Knoxville, brought to you by Markman's Diamonds. And it's Jimmy Villalobos, an electrifying player for the Red Wolves in years prior. And he now logs one away for his new team. And fire off the smoke. Villalobos tucks that so nicely in the bottom right corner. Amel Knight bit the wrong way, and that's all there is to it. And he'll celebrate with his side. 1 Knoxville have taken the lead in their first ever USL League One game. And Jimmy Villalobos, 2 years with the Chattanooga Red Wolves, was with the LA Force before that. And boy, was he fun these past 2 years in League One, and that looks like it's not going anywhere this season. So now we get to see what these two teams do for the first time this season, responding to a goal. It's such a critical part of the game, and something the coaches both brought up when just talking about scouting out teams is, how do you respond when you go down a goal? How do you keep in control after you go up a goal? The next 5 or 10 minutes are oh so important. So we're going to quickly wind back and see what drew the penalty. Yeah. Jalen James gets his arm around James Thomas. And he goes down. That's going to get you a penalty. A lot of havoc there, but Gila Dlamini able to handle a bit of mayhem there. Smart wins it back for Lexington, and they'll play it up the pitch. Cleared away by Skelton. A lot of fans here. You can see it in those shots, and so many fans that they're lining up on the mound over here. I think these are two excellent soccer cultures that we're going to have here in these two clubs into League One. Already have so many good clubs with great support, and I think that these two sides are going to be nothing different. If not, they're going to help raise the bar. As we get our first corner kick of the day for either side, Don Smart will be the artist behind this one. Smart service, dipping down, headed into the fray. It's not out of danger yet. And it looks like that might have been a foul on Machel, who was trying to play that ball from the ground. Just stuck his leg up, and yeah, he's gonna go over to the ref and apologize. Here's Sean Lewis, 30-year-old goalkeeper from Rockford, Michigan. Last was with the Indy 11. Look here, he gets his foot up there, and he clips the boot of one of his opposing players. Can't just throw a limb up willy-nilly like that. Chrysler ricochets that one off of James. So we'll see how Lexington continues to fight and respond here. I mentioned earlier Sam Stockley, not only the coach but the sporting director. He was the sporting director first, and then it was announced that he was going to be the coach this season. And after hearing some discussion, he said, we felt it was the right direction to go as we pick this up off the ground. And he said it'll be a great way to work as a way to grow into our identity, because there's going to be some adapting in the infantile stages of this club. So he thinks it was the best idea that he be in charge of the first team and help get everything integrated. They have such a big plan for Lexington Sporting Club, and this is where you have to get it right. And I mean, those are two full-time jobs, sporting director and head coach. Those are two tough jobs on their own right. So that's a lot of work, but he mentioned that this isn't really a job to me, as corny as it sounds. He said the truth is when I'm not around it, I miss it. So if you wanted someone who had to play both roles at the same time, you want someone like Sam Stockley. Just a crazy, crazy soccer guy. And I mean that in the most complimentary way. Chrysler ripped that one down the pitch. They're going to call a foul here. And it's our first booking. Jessen van der Ploem from the Netherlands goes into the books. From Rotterdam in the Netherlands. He's one of many, many, many players on this Knoxville team that have played for Mark McKeever before. For him, it was back at Young Harris College, a D2 side that McKeever coached for quite a while, and with a lot of success, I might add. Not only just at college, but also sending players to the professional ranks. Robertson plays this one in the middle, And getting there just in time was Jalen Crisler, scooting that ball away before Machel could get on it. And that's what you're going to get with that pairing of Crisler and Skelton. Heads up plays like that in a very dangerous moment. Ball gets thrown in. And that ball will get deflected out for a goal kick. Pila Dlamini getting in there, and now some words are being exchanged between the two sides. That's Skelton and Machel, who have played each other before in League One. Saying some words and making their feelings known. Skelton didn't play at Young Harris College, but did play for Mark McKeever with the Des Moines Menace the year that they won, as that was a careless giveaway, a free corner kick been given to Lexington. Just a misplay there between Lewis and Skelton. Let's see if Lexington can make something of it. Smart service, dips in, and it's headed away. And I think that was Skelton again. Already racking up the clearances between him and Crisler. But surely their numbers have got to go down with each other on the team. You can't both be clearing the ball all the time. But maybe I'll be proved wrong this season. I'm going to go out for a Knoxville throw. I got to talk to Mark McKeever about all the returnees on his team, whether it be from Des Moines, whether it be from Young Harris College, and he's got a lot of those, whether it be guys who played with him last season in League Two. I asked him just how big is it to have players who are familiar with the way you coach, with the way you want your team to play, all being on this team. There is a good, wealthy amount of them. As Fox wins it back for Lexington. Balagoon gets tripped up inside the penalty area, and we've got a penalty for Lexington. Khalid Balagoon gets tripped up. And the visiting side have a chance to level it up in the same fashion as the home side did.
The official has indicated
Sean O'Hearn tangles up with Balagoon. And much like the first penalty, something like that's gonna get you in trouble. So we'll see who actually takes this penalty kick. Right now, Jessen Vanderploem is there. Charlie Machel holding the ball. And he'll hand it off to Don Smart. You could call him Mr. League One. He has been with the league since its first ever season. He's played with Madison and the Greenville Triumph. And back in his rookie year, he even played with Sam Stockley. And he puts this one away, just out of the reach of the keeper. And we're level up at 1 apiece. A penalty for both sides. And it's level once again under 30 minutes into this one. Don Smart put so much behind it, even though Lewis, diving the right way, was even at the right height. Couldn't get enough on that ball to stop it from going in. Smart had 2 goals, 2 assists last season, and he's already got 1 into his tally. And both those goals were penalty kicks, by the way. So if you wanted someone to go up and take the penalty kicks, you knew Smart was a reliable option. And here come Lexington again. Tate Robertson plays this one in the middle, but there was too much going forward on that one. But Lexington trying to carry the momentum here. Talking to Sam Stockley and about where he felt his team was at with the preseason games they had. He said, we are 75 to 80% there, which I think is a fantastic number to have coming in, especially for a brand new club. And he said 3 of the 5 games were local games against colleges with coaches in our system. And he mentioned we've done really well to learn different aspects of our game, which is something you do in those scrimmages. I know sometimes people will look at the results, the score lines, but those don't ever really tell the story about which team was better all the time. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't, because you want your team to play a particular way. You want certain players to get enough minutes. There's a lot of different things. All that really matters is if the players and the coaches feel good about those games. It's not really about who wins, obviously. And now, you don't have to play the preseason game anymore. We've got real soccer, and we've got 2 very real goals in this game. Machel with some space. Machel fires, and it goes over the crossbar. It's our first chance on goal in the run of play for Lexington. But Machel puts that one over top. So Sean Lewis will put this one back into play. One of the few players on this team that I don't believe has played for Mark McKeever at any time. When I asked him about those players that have come back, he said it's massive. He said only a couple of them actually played together with me, but they all understand the habits, and they're going to be the glue of this team early on and will help this process develop faster than the 3 months it usually takes for a brand new team to come together. And he added on top of that, and they're all good humans too, which is something we look for. And that was a bit hefty there as Derek Waldeck slow to get up. Picked up midway through last year for the Greenville Tribe when they were having some health issues on their back line, and he came in and flourished. And then, of course, of prior North Texas fame in USL League One, as he's still crouched over. So here's a look at it again. And yeah, that one hurts. That just takes some time to take some deep breaths and regain composure. So Hearn will throw it in. Machel gets tripped up a little bit, but he's still working with the ball. And Lexington are pushing forward again. Robertson cannot get by this defender there. Sean O'Hearn like a wall. And the offside flag will go up. Trying to connect there with Callum Johnson. So although Lexington didn't play last season, Knoxville did in USL League Two. They've got a couple of players from that team on the roster, and a couple of them most likely will play this season. James Thomas, the only one starting from that League Two team last year. Green. Couple exchanges and miscommunication will roll this one out for a goal kick. But when I talked to Mark McKeever about that League Two season, they did really well, ended up making it to the South Conference final. Attendance was great that season. And he said, we wanted to be champs, though, and we fell short. That was where his bar was, and they didn't reach that. And he said, that being said, we did a lot of positive, created a great environment, established good connections, and we had 5 guys get drafted by the MLS in that next draft. But at the end of the day, we wanted the title. This one played in the middle. Mitchell just screamed that one wide. It was a tight angle, but he nearly had it. How about that find by Robertson? And then trying the one-timer. Charlie Mitchell nearly blasted that one into the roof of the net. That's a nice head forward. Johnson taps it into the 18. Muhammad clears it out. So Don Smart now has 4 combined goals from the spot in League One history, which is tied for 6th in League One in the career record books. Marco Micheletto leading that category with 10 of them. And Emiliano Terzaghi has 8 of them, which lines up behind him. Chrysler will pop this one up the pitch, looking to connect with Keegan. They've been foes a lot of seasons in USL League One, Jalen Chrysler and Jake Keegan, but now on the same side here for Knoxville. See some of the score lines from the infantile stages of this USL League One season. This just being the 3rd game to take place. If you're a fan of any of the other League One teams outside of Lexington and Knoxville and are just watching this out of the sheer curiosity of what these teams pose, we welcome you in on the broadcast. Every team will get their show started next weekend outside of Central Valley Fuego, and we'll talk a little bit about that at halftime about who those teams will be playing. But sitting on the sideline, on the couch for one more week, speaking of halftime, just 10 minutes till. I'll touch base on the timelines of Knoxville and Lexington and from the conception of their club to today. And we'll also give you a very rapid-fire recap of some key players that are returning or are switching around in USL League One across the rest of the league. A lot of great names sticking around, but also some big shifts as far as players who've been notable on certain teams now playing for other teams. Don't think you need me to tell you this if you've been watching League One in years prior, but I think we're in for another chaotic, tight season. And if you're new to League One this season, if you're a Lexington fan or a Knoxville fan and you haven't watched years prior, buckle up, because once the train gets going, it's a train that takes loops and twists and hits massive peaks and troughs. It's a wild ride. Talking about watching the league, Sam Stockley, pretty familiar with USL over the past few years from his time being a broadcaster too, just tuning into the league this last year after Lexington was announced, and they were just sitting on the sidelines anxiously waiting for this game here and this season. And he said it was invaluable to see the whole league. Sam Stockley mentioned the different styles and the different conferences in the USL Championship, and then the styles of League One. He mentioned how convenient it was that you could start at 6 p.m. on a Saturday and catch 45 minutes of every League One game that day. And you take notes of different players, the tactics the coaches were using, and he said that the league is just getting better and better year by year. I imagine they'll take another step this season, the league that is, which is good for all the teams and for you viewers at home who are tuning in. This free kick swings inside, brought down, it's called away by Knight, the follow-through goes in! Knoxville retake the lead. And Jake Keegan, with the putback effort, gives his side the advantage for a second time. But we need to talk about that touch from Jalen Crisler because it was fantastic. Here's a look at the replay. Service comes in. Crisler just keeps that one in. A male Knight, has to knock it away, but waiting right there, his eyes widening, Jake Keegan puts that one home. And the home team once again up top. Had 2 goals last season, Jake Keegan, much like his Greenville teammate Don Smart. Now on opposing teams, he's got already half of that tally this season in one game. This goal brought to you by Marksman's Diamonds. So we've had 3 goals, and all 3 have been scored by players with League One experience. And not just League One experience, but several years of League One experience. Jimmy Villalobos, Jake Keegan, and Don Smart. All savvy vets when you look at the brief history of USL League One. Service comes swinging in. Balagoon crashes into Lewis, or maybe it was more the other way around. Needless to say, it was a collision between the striker and keeper. And we've already seen today that Khalid Balagoon's not a guy you want to run into. He's all that 6'4", and he's going to come in with some force. And he's going to get a warning from our head official, Sergei Damianchuk. But what a first half we've had here from Regal Soccer Stadium. 2 pens and a goal off a set piece. Don't know if they're going to officially tally Jalen Crisler with the assist there, but he might as well be given the similar accreditation that comes with an assist for his efforts on that play. Well, I mean, I may be biased since this was the game that I knew I was going to be doing, but I try to say this as unbiased as possible. I think this was the most anticipated game of the weekend, given the fact that it's the 2 brand new clubs. You could argue Tormenta playing in the opening game, reigning champions, and you could argue the offensive juggernauts of Richmond and Charlotte, or at least that's what we anticipate from them this season with the kind of players they've got on their team. Could also be a big matchup, but I think it's fair to say that a birth of a new rivalry, 2 brand new clubs, really does fit the billing as a game of the weekend, and it's filling up to that billing right now. Only 1 goal in the first 2 games combined, and we've got 3 here in about 40 minutes. You can argue with me all that all day, whether you're a North Carolina fan, Tormenta fan, Richmond, Charlotte. I'm sorry, that's what I think. Villalobos brings this one forward. Plays it to the left-hand side for Waldeck. Squares it back into the middle. No one's there for it. The follow-through shot, less of a shot and more of a pass. Not sure what the intention was there with that touch. Didn't lead to too much for Knoxville. Fox will play it back, and Lexington look to create another chance before this one winds down. Only thing we're going to get about a minute or two of added time outside of the penalties and one or two collisions. It's been a pretty free-flowing game. There wasn't a lot of dawdling on those penalties either. Sometimes you get some antics and players fooling around, trying to rattle the opposition. But we'll wait to see what the fourth official has decided. James deflects that one forward, O'Hearn, and he tracked down by Balagoon. He gets the clearance away. So 2 minutes of added time will be tacked on. And Lexington trying to conjure up another chance, and we're going to get a booking here. Wait to see who it's on. Is that on the keeper? I was worried. He was walking up to Vanderplume for a moment, and he's already got a yellow. And he was walking by him. So Sean Lewis is going to be given the card, and I think when we saw the two balls on the field at the same time, Lewis threw one of them in. And the ref deeming that disruptive, as that one is cleared out by Chrysler. It'll be another corner kick. So Smart will jog over. Already has a goal to his name, and he'll be thinking about an assist here. Smart service comes in, and it's headed away. Muhammad gets that one poked away, and we've got another corner kick. All the corner kicks have been over from this left corner. Smart, lower swinging ball that time. Dlamini tried to pop that one back in. And the halftime whistle will blow. An exciting first 45-plus minutes of action for both these clubs in their inaugural USL League One game. 2 penalties, and then a set-piece goal connection between Jalen Chrysler and Jake Keegan gives the home side the 2-1 advantage going into the dressing rooms. And with that in mind, we have a halftime show brought to you by KUB Fiber coming up next. But first, we're going to step aside for a quick break. I hope you had fun in that first 45. We still have 45 more minutes to go here, but do not close your tab or your window, whatever you're watching this game on, because we have some great halftime content coming your way up next on ESPN+.
For over 75 years, we've witnessed moments that will last forever. Records and trophies, firsts and onlys, game-changing innovations. From the heroes we admire to the joy of watching them play. Our history defines us, inspires us, and pushes us into the future. Celebrating 75 years of changing the game. Puma, forever faster.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Halftime here between Knoxville and Lexington, brought to you by KUB Fiber as we take a look at the campus of the University of Tennessee. Congratulations to their two basketball teams, both winning tournament games here today. But as we pivot back over to soccer, let's rewind a bit for both of these clubs and talk about how they got here, starting with the home side. One Knoxville SC got things going last season in USL League Two, and then made the jump up to League One this season, but it's the same gaffer in charge both years, Mark McKeever. They played their first game May 14th in front of 2,000 plus fans. Again, this is in a semi-pro amateur league, USL League Two. They already had that kind of attendance, and it didn't stop throughout the season. Had a great year, ended up winning the South Central Division, and got all the way to the South Conference Finals, where they eventually were knocked off by North Carolina Fusion, which has always been a staple in USL League Two. And then, of course, October 20th, right around the end of last year in the League One season, of course, the announcement was made that they were making that jump, and what an excellent group, both on the pitch and in the stands for USL League One. Meanwhile, on the Lexington side of things, they didn't play last season, but they did already establish their academy, and they've been hard at work in the preseason this year to get all that chemistry built up. Sam Stockley was named the sporting director after the franchise was announced, and then he ended up taking over the reins as the head coach as well at a later time around October, around when Knoxville ended up getting announced as the next League One side. And you can see all the different scrimmages. They've been watching USL League One this past season with very careful eyes, assessing the talent and building their own in a very lush academy program that they hope will really pipeline their program for years to come. Really a lot to look forward to if you're a Lexington fan or a Knoxville fan for that matter. You can see also some shots of them playing against Georgetown College, which is where they'll be having their home games this season. And here's a peek at their kits. Of course, we already seen these in use for 45 minutes, but they do deserve the close-up. As we pivot over now to talking about the rest of the league, if you are one of the fans of these two teams, maybe you need a little bit of a catch-up on these other teams. Tormenta, reigning champs, and they've got a lot of firepower back, including Ajay, Sterling, and then they add in Mateus Cassini, who is also electrifying in his own right. This team is certainly going to be in the run for a championship today and this season. Meanwhile, Fuego getting some firepower back, along with adding Jose Carrera Garcia from Chattanooga. He'll hope to stabilize that midfield and give guys like Villian Bijev more chances to strike and score. And then there's the Greenville Triumph. Talking about goals, Jacob Lavovitz led the side in that category last season. He's back, and he's got Alan Gavilanes servicing him, and they've got a bunch of other pieces as well at Greenville. Such a good holistic unit. And if you want to talk about a deadly duo, Irvin Parra, Arthur Rogers, both so potent last year, and they're going to do it again this year. And I imagine the goal is to take it up another notch. Johan Peñaranda had fantastic saves, was save of the month like 3 or 4 times. And then you can't talk about League One stalwarts without mentioning the Richmond Kickers. They won the league last season in the regular season, and they've got Emiliano Terzaghi again, 3-time MVP, and he's still around. He is a problem. And we can't highlight absolutely every single team. We only got a certain amount of time for halftime, but Here are some names that cannot be ignored, and another name that can't be ignored that I would like to bring up as well. Rashid Nuhu is back for Union Omaha, and he has just been fantastic in goal, one of the league's best. So you could sink your teeth into all these names, and Nuhu's another name to throw out there for you to consider. News and notes are coming up next after this break here.
For over 75 years, we've witnessed moments that will last forever. Records and trophies, firsts and onlys, game-changing innovations. From the heroes we admire to the joy of watching them play. Our history defines us, inspires us, and pushes us into the future. Celebrating 75 years of changing the game. Puma, forever faster.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Here are some news and notes from around the league. Of course, it's so good to be back. The League One season is in full throttle. Meanwhile, it's the first ever League One season underway for Knoxville and Lexington at this time, and it's also a great time to hop on board. More games than we've ever had in a USL League One season, and also a new CBA this year, which is a great get for the USLPA. It does change how some of these teams are going to approach their roster construction, but at the end of the day, the players are being rewarded better, and that's going to make the product of the league better. As we give you a chance to look at the standings from last year, brought to you by PYA, for the Knoxville fans and the Lexington fans, look at the points on the right-hand side. 51 at the top, 30 at the bottom. That's not a wide margin between your first-place team and your last-place team. That's the kind of chaos that you can anticipate this season. That's what we're probably going to see again this year because all of these teams have so many capable players, and we got the season going yesterday. At Wake Med Soccer Park, Daniel Navarro, poor guy, last year played for Chattanooga Red Wolves and lost to Tormenta in the final, only to see Tormenta again despite wearing different team colors, and once again, falling victim to this vicious attack that Tormenta has. Mukweli Akale, a signee midway through last season for Tormenta, really made a place for himself in the starting lineup and that late season surge. I don't think he's going to be sneaking up on anybody this season. He is a threat. And then earlier today, the Charlotte Independents and the Richmond Kickers got things going. Neil Vinyals, an oh-so-familiar face for the Kickers, with a chance, and he was denied there. And then meanwhile, on the other side of things, a couple of botched-up exchanges for Charlotte, and it ended up ending 0-0 between the two sides, which is shocking because the firepower offensively that these two teams have is staggering on the roster sheets. And then next weekend, Lexington, Knoxville, you won't be playing, so I would recommend sitting down and enjoying some of these games. We have some fantastic matchups. Greenville and Richmond always have a good game. And these other games, Union Omaha, Fort Madison on Sunday, will also be fun. But with that, we'll step aside and get to the game at hand here on the other end. Highlights and stats are coming up next.
For over 75 years, we've witnessed moments that will last forever. Records and trophies, firsts and onlys, game-changing innovations. From the heroes we admire to the joy of watching them play. Our history defines us, inspires us, and pushes us into the future. Celebrating 75 years of changing the game. Puma, forever faster.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Five more minutes of inaugural soccer on the docket between these two sides, one Knoxville and Lexington. But first, let's wrap up our halftime show brought to you by KUB Fiber with the halftime highlights first off. And we're going to start with the penalties here. James Thomas gets tripped up in the penalty area by Jalen James, earning a point to the spot by our head official. And it would be Jimmy Villalobos who would saunter his way up and confidently tuck this one home. First goal for one Knoxville in their history in USL League One is met with the celebration of his teammates. But then, right on the other side, Khalid Balagoon gets taken down by Sean O'Hearn, and they get a point to the penalty spot. A chance to respond, and Don Smart, as he so usually does, puts the penalty away, makes it 1-1, and the first ever goal ever for the first team of Lexington Sporting Club. And then a third goal. Jalen Crisler plays this one in, keeps it not only in play, but puts it in a dangerous spot that Amel Knight has to knock it away. And Jake Keegan, he's got that striker's nose, just can sniff out trouble, and he takes advantage, puts it into the back of the net, gives them the 2-1 advantage, and here are the halftime stats. They skew in favor of the home side, all the way down the board, even on the categories that maybe they wouldn't like to be leading in, including offside and yellow cards. But at the end of the day, they hold the advantage in that regard. And if you're an expected goals person, they lead 1.29 to 0.93. So not a wide margin between the two of them in that stat. I know there's always a contentious debate between the use of expected goals and its application, but needless to say, it's information that I would pose to you, audience, and you do with it what you will. And we'll see what these two sides do here in the second half of action. What kind of substitutions, adjustments, or maybe just words of encouragement from the coaches that were given in the dressing room. And here we go. Second half is underway between Knoxville and Lexington. Once again, the winner of this series this season, it's a 3-game series, will get an empty barrel and a bottle of the losing team's famous beverage of choice, whether it be Kentucky bourbon or Tennessee whiskey. As this one is popped up, Villalobos tried to bring it down, and Villalobos drags it towards goal. And that's easy work for Amel Knight. So this one will be played up the pitch, looking for Mitchell. Ball just pinging around right now. Whistle blows, free kick for the visitors. There's some gamesmanship there from Keegan. Meanwhile, Pila Dlamini, South African midfielder, still clutching his head after that collision. Well, we'll get things going here again. We'll shake off the contact. So they got a chance to look at what the rest of the league provides and what the league provided last season in League One for you unfamiliar. I also talked to Mark McKeever, the head coach for Knoxville. And I mentioned, what's the difference between USL League Two and League One as you make this jump? And he said, well, in USL League One, there is a lack of separation between the top and the bottom. There's such a narrow point difference between first place and last place. And then he mentioned that anyone could have won it in the playoffs, as Balogun discussed that one, but it falls to the feet of Robertson. He played in the middle, nobody was there for it. James takes it, passes to the top. They tried to exchange it back and forth. Robertson has it again. He takes the shot. Robertson into the hands of Lewis. He parries it to the grass. And a bright moment, a couple of good moments here for Lexington to start off the second half as they fight and scrap for a leveler once again. And it was a 3 seed and a 4 seed in the USL League One final last year, and it wasn't too much of a shocker at that fact. I remember before the playoffs started, the coaches were saying, you just got to get in, you just got to get in. If you can make it in, then you have a chance to win it. A couple of tidy passes here for Knoxville. Kelly takes it to his left, and it's returned right back to him. And as this game goes on, I will be curious to see how Knoxville hangs on to this lead. Again, you'd think with the talent of that back line that they'd be comfortable having that goal advantage and just relying on those guys, but you can't get too complacent, and it's a 11-player effort to hold on to an advantage. And again, you still have those first game jitters, especially as a club that's brand new in the USL League One landscape. That touch just had to be right there for Skelton. Robertson does well there, in essence boxing out Derek Waldeck. This one will be lofted up the pitch by Knight. This one popped around a couple of times, and Lexington will push forward once again. Going down that right-hand side, O'Hearn does well there to knock it away for a moment. He didn't clear it out of bounds. But on the second effort, Knoxville are able to rip the ball away. Down a goal, you gotta have some of your leaders stay perked up and pushing the team forward. Of course, Charlie Machel wearing the armband for Lexington today. You got guys like Don Smart on the pitch, Kalen Fox, guys who have been leaders and have worn the armband in the past. But talking about just that topic of leadership with Sam Stockley, he said that you gotta have different types of leaders, and we have that. I mentioned we are fortunate to have a group that is really connected. Everybody's accountable, and everybody can say anything to anybody. Even the younger guys are starting to pipe in now that they've got a couple of games under their belt. And he mentioned on the field, I want 11 captains playing. There's Thomas. Still going with it. Curls the shot. It's off the crossbar. James Thomas, once again, proving dangerous coming in that right-hand side. Sticks his laces through it, and that may have suffered a deflection. Either way, it was close. Thomas, the 25-year-old right wing back from Woking, England, the sole starter that played with the team last year. Fox able to get that one out to Muhammad. And they're going to say it's a throw-in. Muhammad tried to keep it in play along the touchline. Chrysler gets tripped up, and he goes to ground, clutching his left knee. And a couple players not pleased with Khalid Balagoon, and he will go into the books. Much to the pleasure of the partisan crowd in attendance.
A yellow card issued to number 14, Khalid Balagoon.
Well, not only does he get called for the foul, but he does give a little bump to, I think that was Vanderplum, as he walked away from the crime scene. It is one of the strifes of being 6'4" and playing the sport. You just have more of a propensity to knock people down. So Jessen Vanderplum will provide the service here. And that one floating a little bit too far. All too easy for Amel Knight. And he'll boot this one up the pitch, trying to catch Knoxville off guard. But Derek Waldeck is more than ready for it. Robertson wins it back. And now they're going to say it's a Knoxville throw. Or a free kick. They're going to say it was a fouling effort there. So Waldeck will put this one back into play. Stone puts that one up the pitch and wins another throw-in for Knoxville. Don't miss a minute of the action in 2023. Whether your club is on the road or at home, catch nearly every second of USL League One action on ESPN+, the home to the USL, MLS, La Liga, the Bundesliga, UFC, and more. Sign up today at plus.espn.com. Vanderplum tried to puff that one up. Connect with Keegan. Couldn't do so. One of the two goal scorers today, 4-1 Knoxville. It's hoofed up again by Vanderplum and nearly worked to get to Keegan, but bouncing out of play. That'll be a Lexington throw once again. Haywire touches and passes on that ball for both sides. It'll end up being a Knoxville throw here. You can hear the drumming, the thumping of the fans here at Regal Soccer Stadium. Thomas throws this one to the 18. Keegan got the header on it, but then it's swiftly booted away. And if you're hearing a horn and the chugging that's taking place right now, that's because there's a train track that runs right behind the stadium. Balagoon gets tripped up and draws the foul. Go ahead and peek in the top left corner of the upcoming schedule this next weekend. If you missed it at halftime, Lexington and Knoxville don't play next weekend, so it'll be a good chance to get your eyes on some of the opposition in USL League One, including some of the familiar contenders that this league has found the past few years. Of course, previous years of contention haven't necessarily indicated success in future years as that ball swings in and is well headed away by Skelton. James keeps this one in play, and I think did well there to force Skelton to usher that one out for a corner kick. And Don Smart took a lot of the corner kicks all from the left-hand side in the first half, but that's certainly not smart going in this time. It'll be Tate Robertson to take this corner kick. Something worth noting. Robertson, service comes in, nodded away. That one had some drive behind it. Smart hacks it back for Lexington. Here's James. Has to retreat a little bit. And a couple of good exchanges. Now Muhammad swings the ball in, but it's just too high for his man. It's going to end up being a corner kick. It was windier earlier today, so maybe some of those swinging crosses weren't of much help, but they may be more useful now. They're trying to connect with Robertson there. He went airborne for it, but he's not able to jump that high. You know, first corner kick from the right corner for either team. I don't think we've even had a corner kick yet for one Knoxville. Muhammad plays this one in, and it's headed away once again. Smart puts it back into the mixer. Machel tap it back, and James will track it down the corner. Jalen James to Robertson. They're lining up to go again. Machel pops it to the right-hand side, headed into the middle. Skelton's there for it. Kalen Fox providing a beaming service with his forehead. Now Smart. Lexington trying to crack down this Knoxville side. That one will get ricocheted out by Angelo Kelly. Robertson takes this one up the touchline. In some traffic, it'll be won back by Knoxville. It was a grueling preseason for the home side. Mark McKeever said it's been tough, but it has built our unit. Some grueling travel, no home games. They were not home so much that when we had the chance to talk to him, he was actively on a bus to another one of their friendlies, to one of their scrimmages. He mentioned that although the travel is hard, we've really learned each other's tendencies. It's been kind of like a one Knoxville crash course these past few weeks. And I think if you're a team like a Richmond Kickers, a Greenville Triumph, you've been playing in USL League One a couple years now, you've got a lot of returning players, maybe all that travel would be detrimental to the start of your season. But I think if you're a side like one Knoxville or Lexington for that matter, travel is such a great way to build that chemistry. Coaches have repeated that over and over again. It's not the home games that you build the chemistry, it's being on the road. As we get a foul here, Tariq Muhammad definitely going to get called, and not wanting any tending to there from the assailant is James Thomas. And we're going to get a yellow card given to Muhammad there for the foul. Canadian left back. And I mean, that's a reckless challenge. I think that's deserving of a booking.
Yellow card issued to number 57, Tariq Muhammad.
And Thomas still slow to get up. Had a dangerous chance earlier in this half, drew the penalty in the first half for One Knoxville. And now a set piece for the visitors. They traded penalty kicks to get the first goals. One Knoxville scored off of a free kick. And now they'll be looking to notch in a second one here from a dead ball situation. That's not a penalty, of course. Look like we're gonna have our first two substitutions coming. Not on the pitch yet, but One Knoxville getting ready to make their first two switches. Now wait for everything to be good to go for Sergei Damianchuk, our head official. Waldeck looks on. Curling ball comes in, and that was a much-needed header from Kalen Fox. He had two players behind him, and it's actually his two center-back counterparts on the opposition. Jordan Skelton and Jalen Chrysler were waiting for that one. And Kalen Fox, the Lexington native, was able to pop that one over top. First corner kick of the night for One Knoxville. They're not gonna be able to take it yet because some antics right around the penalty spot. And Muhammad is gonna get a talking to. He just got booked a moment ago. And the ref is saying, no more. No more from you. Things getting a little bit more snippy here in this second half of action. Everything went rather smoothly in the first 45 minutes. So now it's time for the corner kick. Service comes in, and that won't make contact with anybody. It'll be a goal kick. So here are some substitutions, and we also got some two for Lexington here. So let's go through those. First, for the visiting side, Nico Brown, the former Greenville Triumph man, coming in for Jalen James, and Will Bainham coming in for Khalid Balagoon. Meanwhile, for One Knoxville, we've got Ahinga Selemani coming in for the goal scorer Jake Keegan, and Ilya Illich, last but not least, he's gonna sub in for Callum Johnson. Illich, two-time USL Championship title winner with Lou City, returning to play for his college coach, Mark McKeever. And what a figure he is going to be on this team this season, Ilya Illich. 31 years old, the Serbian. Tons of experience since his time playing for Mark McKeever. And now they reunite. Angelo Kelly winning it back for Knoxville. Also like to shout out Ahinga Selemani, the other substitute for Knoxville. Turned 27 last Wednesday, so happy belated birthday to you. As Illich gonna demonstrate his pros here. He plays it wide over to Thomas. Chasing him down right now is one of those substitutes for Lexington. Will Bainham showed promise in some of their scrimmages. Scored one of their goals in those games. So that'll go out for a goal kick. Illich going to be such a focal point on this team this year, you would expect, given his resume and his connection with the coach. Nico Brown gets tripped up. And a foul and yellow card will be given to Angelo Kelly Rosales. Nico Brown donning the number 77 again, like he did with the Triumph last year.
A yellow card issued in the 67th minute to number 8, Angelo Kelly.
Here's a look at it again. So it won't be Muhammad to take it. He will get it poked to him. Here's Robertson. He's had bright moments today. Curls this one inside. I'm not sure if that grazed the head of Skelton. It did, so it's going to be a corner kick. Muhammad will make his way over there to deliver the set piece. And we'll see who comes up and potentially gives Lexington that extra push they need. You gotta look for Kalen Fox in situations like this. 6'3", center back. Will Bainham just subbed into the game, 6'2". He's an airborne presence. Service comes in. Skelton, though, once again, the winner in the air. He so often does. Ball cleared up the pitch and out of play for a Lexington throw. Paco Craig leads Miami FC into Kentucky to face Josh Winder and the reigning Eastern Conference winners, Louisville City FC. Don't miss the start of the new season of the USL on ESPN Saturday, May 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Mentioned just moments ago, Ilya Ilic, former player for Lou City. And here he is on the ball now. Ilic collides with the player and draws the foul. Got tangled up there with Muhammad, who has already gotten a yellow card and a warning from the official. But really didn't think there was any malice there. Just two players going for the ball and just crunching together. But another set piece for Knoxville. We get closer and closer to the conclusion of this game. Still got 21 minutes plus whatever added time. Knoxville currently holding the advantage in their League One home opener, game opener, and we have got some altercations taking place, and a yellow card has been issued. Sorry, excuse me, a red card. Players are going to be sent off. I think that was given to Don Smart, but I'm not certain. There was a lot of people around. But the free kick was about to be taken, and then suddenly some issues were had, and a straight red was whipped out. Now we got some players tapping each other up in the fallout, but still trying to make out exactly what occurred here. So Don Smart, given the straight red, has been sent off this game. The goal scorer for Lexington SC is going to make his way to the dressing room. That is it for him. Don Smart, not a guy from my time covering this league to lose his temper. Very strange. Well, if you were hoping that this would bud into a rivalry quickly, we've already got some history to tuck under our belts for next time. Vanderploom floats this one in. The follow-up shot is going to get knifed over and well off target without much pace. So Lexington down a goal and down a man for the rest of this one. I wish we could show you what went down, but I mean, it was away from the action, so it just was not in our periphery until the fallout of everything. So this pass stepped on by Dlamini, trying to thread something forward. It's going to be an uphill battle now for the visiting side. This is a side that is really focusing in on the academy and player development side of soccer, and it being a huge emphasis on what they are and what they do as a club. As the offside flag goes up and keeps Selemani from putting any danger on goal there. But we're seeing in the USL that that's becoming more and more a great emphasis for business. Talking to Sam Stockley about it, he said selling players is maybe a relatively new thing in USL, because typically tickets, merch, sponsorships are the three things you look to as sources of revenue for a club. And we're getting another push, another foul. Certainly turned into a testy affair here. Sam Stockley said that these teams now are seeing that player development is another way to make money for your program. And not only that, after you sell a player, as a player is down here for Knoxville, that's Vanderploem. He's back up on his feet and will look to walk this one off. Still ailing a little bit. But if you sell a player for a good amount of money to a bigger club, that's gonna help you in recruiting for your next batch of players, because they see the upward trajectory that can come with playing at your program. And that shift is really being seen in the USL as a whole. I mean, you look at USL Championship clubs that are selling guys over to Europe. And USL League One, not too far behind, looking to become another big foundational anchor point in the U.S. soccer pyramid. So really exciting stuff to have clubs like Lexington coming into the foray. Here's Robertson, bringing up that right-hand side. Nice pass into the 18, trying to connect with Machel. And it'll be cleared away by O'Hearn. Now Villalobos, the goal scorer that started this game off from the penalty spot. And after a couple attempts to ricochet that one off of Owen Green, he was just too good there. Brown. Play this one back. And Lexington finds something here, down a man. Service comes in and nearly goes in. Certainly not a shot by project or by intention, but it was close to one. How about this? The ball knuckling its way over to the crossbar. Nearly giving fits to Sean Lewis. Vanderploem's back down on the ground, and you wonder if you sub him out of this game at some point in time. You've got some midfield options on your bench. I mean, it's game 1 of 32. Do what you can to help preserve the body. So let's take a look at that effort. Robertson just rips that one. That's close. If that one had gone in, then there would be a debate of if it was a shot or a cross, but I think I could pretty confidently say that he wasn't going for a shot on target there. He was trying to set up one of his teammates. But if it was a shot on goal, then I appreciate the gumption. Vanderploom will make his way to the sideline. And still 2 listed midfielders on the bench for Mark McKeever's side. So we'll see if he opts to throw one of them in, or maybe you could throw in Danny Fernandez, who would be another defensive piece. Like to see this one through. Have a player warming up for Lexington. That looks like Ates Diouf. And we're back into the fray of things here. We'll only have more time tacked on at 90 minutes than we did in the first half, I would presume, as a male knight in a bit of a sticky situation shakes his way out of it. Brown with a good tap, gets that one cleared away by Dlamini. Here's some space to work with. Bainham has to backtrack, plays it out to his right. Fox plays it up the pitch to Bainham. Will Bainham plays that ball in, looking for Machel. It's picked up. Trying to turn around and get a shot is Robertson. Bainham back into the center and into the hands of Lewis. Those are some promising moments there. Players getting touches inside the 18 for Lexington. This one's not over. Sometimes you get a team go down a man and you can tell that the demeanor changes and the body language changes, that a match is a foregone conclusion, but Lexington continuing to push and create opportunities. And here's a loose touch. Another one of those set opportunities, running down that right-hand side to the middle for Nico Brown. He can't get to it. And that one will deflect out for a goal kick. That was a poor touch on that left-hand side. I think that was Derek Waldeck that mailed that one back in, as Diouf is going to sub in for Mohammed. I think that's smart from Lexington. Mohammed on a yellow card and a warning. And now Diouf, the midfielder from Senegal, will come in. Meanwhile, Frank Ross will sub into the game for Jessen Vanderploom. The Scottish midfielder Frank Ross hasn't been with the team for too long. Just got into the country recently. But boy, does he come with some great experience at the age of 25 years old. Very excited to see his role on this team this season. Was last with the Go-Ahead Eagles, which is a team over in the Netherlands, and helped them promote to the top flight in his last season. So the Eredivisie, which is, if I remember correctly, currently the home of one Ricardo Pepi. I'm gonna have to fact check myself on that one, but I believe he's in the Eredivisie. Brown couldn't keep that one in play. Yeah, just to confirm with you, that is where Ricardo Pepi is playing. So with under 10 minutes to go, plus whatever added time, Knoxville trying to hang on to this lead in front of a great home crowd. Talk to Mark McKeever about his coaching influences and maybe who's a name that has really affected his philosophy. And that'll be a free kick for Knoxville. And he said, I've had many. It's a good question, but I couldn't really name any single person. But I will give you a trait that all of those influences, those people had. And he said they were all very humble. Humility was a big thing with all of them. And that had a big impact on me. He said, I want to serve my players, and I want my players to have that humility too. It's another one of those big pillars of this one Knoxville side. Things getting scuffy once again, and it'll be a free kick for Knoxville. Oh, it'll be a free kick for Lexington, but they just want them to retake it. Pointed in favor of the home team there, though, the official, so just was pointing to the spot where he wanted the free kick to be taken. We talked a little bit about Lexington and their goal to really grow through the academy system and developing players. And one really interesting factor in that in the United States that's different from maybe in England, where Sam Stockley has a bit of experience working in the academy systems there. And of course, over in Europe, the academy system is everything for soccer. You do have to work with the high school / college system here in the United States. As this one pops over to the left-hand side. Service comes in and trying to slice that one home. And another play on goal cleared away by Fox. Knoxville with a couple of chances there. It was Ilya Illich who was trying to contort that ball into the back of the net. Villalobos wins it back for Knoxville. They're looking for a nail in the coffin there. Thomas plays that one up, and Fox knocks that one away, and they're going to call a corner kick here. Must not have made any contact with Selemani. So Knoxville will take their time to make their way over here and wear this clock out. Stomping picks up once again here at Regal Soccer Stadium. That one headed away by Fox. Illich trying to thread his way through two defenders, and although it's cleared away, the home side reclaiming possession once again. Really stamping their foot down right now, the home side. Waldeck veers around to the right-hand side, and he had that one deflected, and Knight gets to it before it bounces out for a corner kick. Villalobos stamps in there, and he's going to be called for the foul. And the ref is going to issue a yellow card there, whether it be on the foul or Villalobos, or maybe Frank Ross had some choice words to say. Well, it was probably for the kicking the ball away after the foul was called. Let's look at our booking. Villalobos on the score sheet and in the books. Martinez, good ball up the pitch, falls right to Nico Brown. we are going to issue a correction here. Jimmy Villalobos wasn't given the yellow. It's going to be Frank Ross who goes into the books. Ross brings that ball down. And he rolls it to his left-hand side. Villalobos, who scored the goal and was a bit inactive in this game for a while, has made his presence known once again in the past 10 or so minutes, winning the ball back frequently for One Knoxville. Kelly puts it forward for Salamani. And Robertson will tap it to his keeper, but Knight getting chased down. Clears it away, and Villalobos does poorly there. Here's Diouf. Now Machel playing it wide. Time ticking for Lexington to find a point here. O'Hearn heads it, but it's Owen Green. Back heels it to Bainham. Green swings this one in, and it's cleared away. Machel trying to dance through some Knoxville players and doesn't get too far. Robertson playing that one forward, but there's no one there to track it and chase it. Mentioning earlier, though, for Lexington, as an academy program in the United States, you compete a little bit with the high school / college system. And when asked how does one handle that, and I think this is a situation where you get more sporting director Sam Stockley than head coach Sam Stockley. He said you have to provide opportunities for your players. And he said we have a practice day on Sundays where some of the academy guys get the chance to practice with pros, players who aren't getting a lot of time on the pitch. For the first team, we'll get in that extra work to stay fit, and the kids are getting invaluable time with professional players, which I think is a pretty excellent way to provide set opportunities that you will not get in the high school / college landscape, which is still a viable option, and the option that many of these players here on the pitch today have taken. But here's a guy who took another route. Diallo Irakoze subbing into the game. He's been made a bit of an example of by Lexington for how he played with the academy team last year, really excelled, got the opportunity to play with the first team a little bit, showed up in some of the scrimmages, and really earned himself a spot on this first team. Which is a great way to signify what Lexington's looking for, and this is year 0 for the first team. Danny Fernandez will come in for One Knoxville, played with the side last year. So he'll be the second player from the USL 2 team to make an appearance here in the USL League One, the professional ranks. And if you look at our time, we've got 5 more minutes of added time. James Thomas, the other League Two player from last year. We got some fans running up and down the field with the Knoxville flag, trying to wave their team to victory in these last 4 minutes. Waldeck picking up that loose ball. And he'll tap it back nicely for Fernandez. His first touches as a professional soccer player, the Spaniard. Here's Skelton, who has lived up to the billing today with how many crosses and corner kicks that he's knocked away. How about the noise from the fans here? Their League One opener. They provided the energy last year, and it doesn't seem like it has gone anywhere for their first ever professional season. Loaded ball comes in, and Knight, barreling through Selemani, gets that ball. What an exciting day for both these clubs. Getting their feet on the grass for the first time in USL League One history. Unfortunately, both teams won't be playing next weekend, getting the bye. And as fun as it is to play a fellow brand new team, they both will be getting a taste of some more experienced League One sides. Knoxville will once again be home again, and they'll be hosting one of the champions, Union Omaha. They got a brand new coach and a lot of great pieces still on that team, including some that have been acquired this year. And they got some pretty nice kits too this year, that I might add. Not that that affects the quality of the team. And then for Lexington, they'll be going on the road and playing on another great pitch, WakeMed Soccer Park against North Carolina FC. They got knocked off by Tormenta on Friday, but they've got a lot of talented players, both returning to the club from last year and also being acquired. Whenever you have a guy like Rafa Mensing into your team, that's just, whew. That's an electrifying player. No whistle blown there. That seemed very clearly a foul. Advantage just being played by Damian Shug. That clothesline there. And there should be a booking for that, and there will be. And that looked to be on Villalobos, who we thought to have been given a yellow card earlier, now gets his yellow card. And Lexington with the free kick here. Maybe their last chance to find a leveler. Down a man for the last 25 minutes. Service comes swinging in. It scuffles around. And right at the line, it's saved. Sean Lewis gets his hands on it, denying Charlie Machel. And there's your final whistle. How about that for some late game drama? 1, Knoxville. Get out of this one. Here's a look at it again. Machel made some contact with it, but Sean Lewis, the veteran keeper, was able to get to it before it crossed that line. Welcome to League One. They found success in League Two, and it's translating over to the League One scene to start. 1 Knoxville are 1-0. Your final score, 2-1 in this first edition of a brand new League One rivalry that seems to be setting up to be a good one. So Mark McKeever's side coming out victorious thanks to a game-winning goal from Jake Keegan, putting it through. And there's Keegan talking to his teammate, Nico Brown from Greenville, at least his former teammate. And that will do it here, but we're not done yet on the ESPN Plus broadcast. We have some post-game thoughts coming up next, highlights and stats coming your way here, so don't turn off your screen just yet. We got to wrap this one up with a nice little bow. Thomas, once again, proving dangerous.
For over 75 years, we've witnessed moments that will last forever. Records and trophies, firsts and onlys, game-changing innovations. From the heroes we admire to the joy of watching them play. Our history defines us, inspires us, and pushes us into the future. Celebrating 75 years of changing the game. Puma, forever faster.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Well, how about the way this one ended? We got the players thanking the fans here at Regal Soccer Stadium. If that's not an introduction to what League One is like, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't like that, then I guess you just don't like soccer, because that was exciting. And let's take a look at the highlights from how this one winded down between these two brand new sides, birthing a new rivalry. And I think we've got one in the making here. 2 penalties in this game. It's the 17th time that that's happened in USL League One history, a game with 2 penalties awarded, and both getting slotted away. Jimmy Villalobos in the 17th minute. Khalid Balogun drawing the second pen in favor of Lexington, and Don Smart puts that one away, makes it 1-1 apiece in the first half, but we still had another goal before that halftime whistle was blown. Jalen Crisler keeping that one in play, and Keegan was able to force that one into the back of the net. What a great connection between those two. Longtime foes in League One, now connecting for the first time as teammates. The former kicker, the former Triumph man. And then early in the second half, Lexington were firing away, and some responses issued, many orchestrated by James Thomas, including that great shot there. He was the one who drew the penalty in the first half, and he was dangerous on that right-hand side as we bring you the full-time stats brought to you by CGI. I think Knoxville rightfully earned the victory in this game. They created more chances. They're a little bit more forceful when they had the ball. And ultimately, the better team were able to get the job done. But it is worth noting, 5 yellow cards, of course, that does not compare to the red card that was given to Don Smart, of all people, in this game. Definitely a rare occurrence on his part. Put Lexington into a bind, and yet still they nearly had a death time leveler. Well, I hope you had fun, because I sure did, and I'm sure a lot of people tuning in enjoyed it the same way I did. But for the broadcast here, we're finished for the weekend. League One's just getting started, though. Week 1 in the books, Week 2 coming up next weekend. Be sure to tune in. But for this broadcast crew, I'm Mark Schoenster. We appreciate you tuning in. And until next time, so long and have a good night on ESPN Plus.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League League One cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League League One.